Okay, let's talk about Doom on the Unholy Massacre difficulty. According to forums, this difficulty can be best explained as the opposite of I'm Too Young to Die. I'm Too Young to Die makes it so the player takes half damage from mangsters. Also, ammo is doubled. Heretic follows a similar design and difficulty. The Unholy Massacre difficulty for that game, also known as 1000 deaths await thee, is quite literally the opposite. The same can't be said about Doom though. The only supposed changes I see between Unholy Massacre and the ultra-violence difficulties are halved ammo and health pickups, as well as that awesome increase in monsters. That's the main gimmick here, I think. We get double the monsters. At least damage stays the same, but well, I should really help you recognize the kind of challenge this really is. I'll repeat it for you in case you missed it. Monsters are doubled, while ammo is halved. While you have to worry about the already strict ammo count across your entire journey through hell, you get a really thick homemade syrup on them grizzly flapjacks, not sponsored, with double the enemies. I think. Yeah, sometimes it feels like there's more. That's it. Fortunately, by default, the enemies are not fast like in Nightmare difficulty. But that's like saying there's no hot sauce in your jalapenos. You know that feeling where you say you won't be overwhelmed if you add just one extra ducky toy to the bathtub, but then you do, and you are overwhelmed? Let's get into it. In Nightmare difficulty, fast monsters are enabled. It is because it's a singular setting despite it affecting more than one thing. Sorry. With fast monsters enabled, enemies attack faster specifically because their step counters aren't considered in their attack equationations. They're actually omitted. Gone! Capiche? These so-called step counters are randomly generated numbers that tell a monster how many steps it must take before attacking. It can be a number between 0 and 15. Each step the Mang takes decrements its counter, and when the counter reaches 0, it runs a code that decides for it whether or not it should attack. Yeah, the 0 is why you get these double tappers, the guys who shoot 2 times consecutively, all intelligent and shit. When you attack the monster, its step counter is reduced to 0 or something like that, because it'll immediately decide to attack, and that's regardless of what its step counter is in that current moment. With step counters, monsters will behave in a more erratic fashion. Rather than a Baron dependably mowing down a wave of imps during a strafe run, you may have to take care of the Baron, then the imps yourself, because you're unlucky enough for those imps to have apparently studied in the 5 Ds of dodge in front of a Baron who apparently is the nicest Baron in the entire universe. How about an imp that doesn't attack you for 20 seconds? I mean, you're right there. You're trying to punch it, but you don't want to take a fireball to the face. So you're over here, you're dusting his shoulders. And then the sergeant shot. It gets you from behind. So of course, you can't shoot with your hands. You have to take fucking cover. But the imp, he's got the command, dude. He got the goddamn command. He stops perfectly right in your path to finally attack. And you finally punch him, and you finally kill him, but he shot you. Oh, but at least it was for a low damage roll. But you, with your definitely not slow-ass self, it's just enough damage for the sergeant to finish you off in a high damage roll. One more shot, that's it. Yep, because here he is, folks, the fastest fucking gunslinger in the entire... So many silly things pile up when you're dealing with double-ish the enemies than what is intended. Maybe not so much in the first Doom. It's accentuated more in the second Doom. I know I'm showing Heretic footage, but I couldn't find a very clear example of this kind of stuff. Clear as in, you're seeing it happening at 1,000 places and 1,000 angles. This one gives you the gist of what I mean. These guys in the tower, and the ones in the cave. See, I want them to shoot the Molitor, so that I can play the game. But I forgot. They're terrified of them. They're terrified of Molotors. It must be in the lore. And Big Thigh's here. Yeah, he's buddy with this massive group of Saberclaws. You didn't know? They hang out all the time. They'll never attack each other. You can very easily get trapped, and you can very easily get mowed down from 100 HP in this sort of challenge, because those slight inconsistencies in behavior, stuff you would expect to happen, might never happen. Ever. It's crazy. It'd be near impossible with fast monsters, but that's someone else's story. It's interesting to think about though. Is default Nightmare difficulty harder, or is it easier than the default Unholy Massacre difficulty? It's harder. Yeah. Yeah. So your first level in Doom is cool. It gives you a pretty good idea of what you'll be dealing with for the next year. Your first obstacle is fucked. 8 shotgunners in the first room, 4 up top, 2 on the bottom on either side of the stairs behind some pillars. Waiting with low step counters, all ready to decide to attack because fucking of course they are. It's perfect though. This feels like the amount of monsters you would expect realistically speaking. 40 soldiers in a base makes sense. That's irrelevant. Here it is, Mangs. This level, it'll take a good fast player to make it through this. A first timer will have a pretty hard time. I think because you're dealing with so many guys though, you can learn to be as fast as you need to be as you play. Me? Thanks for asking. I had to actually grease up my palms and hump those walls. I had to learn what floors hurt myself, and I just sort of dealt with the deaths. Because I'm stubborn like that. But I know that I can learn these things quick because I'm also so dexterous. I've made clothing in the past. My WPM and my IQ, they're connected, and that when I can type faster, I'm smarter. It's just the kind of guy I am. So maybe I'm wrong in saying it's learnable. Pros would like this, I think. Like, wherever there's one monster, there's 2. I mean, just think of the possibilities. Okay, that's all we need. Pretty easy, yeah? No! You're gonna run out of ammo. You gotta go secret hunting. You gotta save your ammo. It seems like most levels have just the amount of ammo needed to get by in that level for this difficulty. It's like they planned this. You'll probably want to infight, but it's really not necessary in most cases. I don't use infighting like that because I feel like I'm not earning anything that way. Look at me now. Me with my punching my way through hell. I'm fine. If you want to reach the level in time, you'll probably have to figure out how to ration your ammo. I do random things to do that, too many to mention them all without starting to seem ridiculous or obvious. A lot of it is just acquired FPS skills, to be frank. The most relevant and easy to understand skill I can mention for this game is lining up your enemies to make it easier to avoid damage, since enemy attacks can't go through each other. More on this with chainsaws. Just lining up your stuff also allows you to take good advantage of your weapon spread and the shots that travel through newly deaded enemies. Because these shotguns, they shoot multiple pellets with each shot. Not every pellet lands on an enemy if the other pellets decide to kill them. The other pellets, they'll travel through them instead. Make sure those pellets hit something meaty. You don't have to stop shooting like this too. You could just hold down the button, which kind of saves time. And that's something that you might find you'll need in these tighter spaces. Remember, there's double monsters. Some source ports of Doom have different behavior when it comes to their map grids and how they apply things mass. Some whats have what when it comes to their whats? John Carmack. Basically, where a monster is on the map can affect the RNG on damage, and whether a monster's step counter can decrease, so it can decide whether or not to attack. It might also mess with pain chance. I don't know. It's not important to read the book. Just read the Spark Notes. Check out some videos. Other YouTubers made some videos, some good content talking about it. But don't watch that. Stay here. Because there are so many monsters, you'll see more monsters with their origins all out of whack due to map grid shenanigans. The origin, by the way, is a numerical representation of a monster's location on a map. It helps to determine where they are, where they should walk. There's more to it, but let's not. Now, if a monster's origin becomes separated from their sprite by means of spawning in halfway through a wall, or riding just off the side of a lift or something like that, it will not be able to decrement its step counter. You know what I'm talking about. It's these guys who can't seem to move or do anything when they're just hovering off the side of something. You'll see that often, because of the small spaces in the monster closets, with no entrance or exit, but a teleporter for the monsters to leave. You'll be able to hear the monster, but it will never be able to teleport in. Other guys will be so packed in because of their monster doubling, that nothing in the room can even decide to defend itself unless you attack them. What a hell. You can have these powers too. If you don't want them, the only super technical thing you honestly have to worry about with your projectile weapons for this specific port, with the default settings, and on this difficulty, is how far away your weapons can push monsters. Yeah, you can push monsters with your weapons. It's called knockback. Watch this cacodemon. That's happening because of the sound design. The Cacodemon, he's like, whoa, that's pretty fucking good. And in such awe that he can't control his forward momentum. Also, the low mass of the Cacodemon, your weapon's knockback, and just the general inability for the monster to understand the concept of building and decreasing momentum while in the air. You'll see it a lot with the rocket launcher. A pistol will do it to a single target while saving ammo. There's absolutely no reason for you to be doing that, though. It's something, I guess. A shotgun will be able to do it safely, and with a greater range, and to a greater effectiveness. The chain gun is really good for pushing back a single target, and the rocket launcher, while it's messy, it does have the most amount of knockback. My best example of putting this information to work that you can see right now, as of this video's postage date, is at the beginning of E4M2's Perfect Hatred. There are 2 Cacodemons blocking the path to this sweet biosuit. You probably don't have much health after the first level, like I did, so you want to get that supercharge as soon as possible. And you don't have the plasma weapon, you just have the shotgun, the chain gun, and the rocket launcher. That's a rough situation. In hindsight, and compared to Doom 2, it's really not that bad. I recommend watching that moment on my Unholy Massacre of Doom episode 4 video for yourself if you have the time. It says what I've been trying to say using action as a medium of communication. One more random fact, that knockback I mentioned, it stacks. What do you do when you have no shots to take? You move to the city, bro. But actually, when I ran out of ammo, I always felt screwed since I wasn't good with the punches, and the chainsaw is way too RNG based even without fast monsters. You have to use your ammo appropriately. You don't need to be perfect, which is cool I guess. Not with Doom 1. Also, you get really good opportunities to learn these weapons in the second episode, which is really appreciated. Take advantage of that berserk in the level called boxes. Learn to punch out those pinkies and imps. It's very good practice, and actually really fun when you get the hang of it. I know more about the chainsaw than the fist. Yeah, I got tips. Know what pain states are? You hit a guy, it's like, oh no. And during that time, you can't do anything, because a bullet wound fucking hurts like fucking hell, dude. Applicable to the chain gun, but we're on saws right now. Because of the speed of the chainsaw's attack, it will get more opportunities to cause a monster to enter a pain state. Yeah, it's still a chance, but increasing your probability greatly of avoiding damage is a little bit better than trying to avoid damage every time you go for one poke. So yeah, you can chainsaw pretty much anything, not including the Barons and the Cyber Demons. Some of them you probably shouldn't, like shotgunners, unless you're really sure you can close the distance safely. Not talking about Doom 2 yet. The chainsaw will pull you into the enemy. You can counteract this shit by running in the opposite direction. Just keep the chainsaw's range in mind, and you can do some neat stuff. You can run side to side, maybe even do a quick 360. You can do this. It's the dancing chainsaw style. While chainsawing imps, demons, and cacodemons, they will most likely not be able to attack, meaning you can use them as a meat shield to avoid projectiles. Use your run to keep said shield in front of you, where enemies can shoot the projectiles like I said before. Use the dancing chainsaw style to line dance your way to stardom. Remember when I said most likely, by the way? That's because I've chainsawed so many demons that I know that there's a chance that the enemy doesn't enter a pain state, even after 2 seconds of chainsaw. Every demon monster in the game is like this except for Lost Souls. They're kind of an exception. Even imps kind of fit this bill. It's all probability. Lost Souls are only different because of their hard-coded 100% chance to enter a pain state. There are many decisions you'll have to make as you take out the chainsaw. You can save ammo, but there is a chance to die. Is that really worth it? What if you just use the ammo differently? Is it absolutely necessary to take care of this right now? You gotta think about stuff here, lest you end up in the pit, in Doom 2, with this ammo count. You gotta take so many risks, especially if you do it the first time like I did. On even simple stuff, like committing to a platforming segment, or just using radiation suits. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. I don't think I've ever really been forced to think in such a way. In such a way meaning, this game has me thinking stuff like, I'm feeling lucky. and then proceeding to chainsaw 6 cacodemons in a row, even when I'm stacked in ammo. Flipping coins type shit. It looks like I'm doing it for the content, when it's like, nah, this is just the game we're playing right now. Continuing on with chainsaw control. It's possible to put that step counter information to work to keep you safe more consistently. After all, if you can't guarantee something, increasing your chances for it to happen can be just as good. A monster cannot attack while it is in the middle of a step animation, and it will only decide to attack while you are in targeting range and sight. If you are not, it will take more steps to find you, and use more step animations. Use this information to your advantage, Mangs. You can safely initiate a chainsaw barrage by letting a monster walk into your chainsaw. Dodge projectiles, don't lose ground. If you catch them while they're walking, then you're catching them mid-step animation. You don't want to catch them mid-attack animation, because you'll really need them to enter a pan state before the attack goes out, and there's a lower chance of that happening than if they also had to complete a mid-step animation before doing that in the first place. This seems like a bit much, yeah? It's necessary if you end up with my ammo count, and if you want to kill as many things as possible like I do. Don't want to be aggressive, use corners. Monsters can't attack you if they can't see you. You can command a lot of control from even the biggest group of demons using just a corner, some luck, and a chainsaw. 2 extra tips and tricks for you. Ooh, you remember that magazine? The damage you take from floors uses a counter, sort of like that step counter I mentioned. It counts up to a certain number, and when it reaches it, it's like, yo, that's my number! And then code is executed. In this case, it's telling the game to damage the player by whatever amount of damage the floor you're standing on is supposed to damage you by, because fuck you. A similar counter is used in the weapon sway animation. In fact, it's so similar, you could actually use your weapon's sway to determine when you'll take damage from that damaging floor. It happens right at the peaks of your weapon's sway. And that's why it looks like I skip everywhere in my later playthroughs. I used to jump a lot to avoid that damage, because I mean, come on dude, what the fuck? This is bullshit. My final tip is using minimal movements to your advantage. It's a common tactic really, no need to explain it. Just think about how you've used very minimal movements in difficult games. 2D space shooters, bullet hell games, other FPS games, Mario. Do that in Doom, and you'll have a lot of space going for you. So the source port, it's kinda important. I'm running Doom with a source port called LZDoom. It's a source port by a guy who goes by the name Dr. Frag. 666. 6? It seems to originally be made to cater to lower end systems, but now it's even more spicier than intended. Perhaps other source ports have coded this idea into their difficulty selection, maybe under a different name. This is the one I'm playing though. Playing with this difficulty. I recommend the first episode to even the first time players. You gotta like a challenge. The next 2, I definitely would recommend to hardened players of Doom. People who have already played the maps and understand where the secrets are. I recommend the last episode of Doom 1 over waterboarding, the electric chair, and maybe the Iron Maiden for extracting information. I originally made this video to stress how difficult the entire thing is, because I'm just so cool, and awesome, and you all really should know, and fuck you guys. Look, is that Squash with Gonzalez? I need an autograph. Fuck it. I'll see if they need a back massage. I owe them absolutely everything, including my entire Basically, I like the advice advertised part more. This Dr. Frag 66. You see, they put their time into developing an experience which I enjoyed thoroughly. Regardless of how small the effort was on their part, I appreciate the work, and I would like to say, thank you, Dr. Frag. I already uploaded the beginning of my Doom 2 playthrough. It's hard as hell on earth. Not the game, the actual thing. I'm far better in those videos because you need to be just to get by. And also I decided to stick to not purposefully causing infighting, unless it's super duper absolutely necessary just to beat the level. I hate restarting, because I hate repeating things, so I deal with my decisions all the way through, which include not knowing where the best weapons in the early game can be found. Also, beating easy levels with low HP. You know, stuff like that. Peoples. Take my advice if you wanted to try this. Know the game a bit. Maybe look up the level beforehand for a little snippet of information. If you do decide to try this, all the way through, I wish you all the luck that anyone could ever bestow upon someone, and then double it because, you know, the whole monsters get doubled bullshit. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.
Squash out.